Welcome back. There's a quote from a movie that says there's a new sheriff in town. And so I'm going to use that because we got a new coach in town. Yusef Fitzgerald joins us now. He is the new head coach of the Hinds Bulldogs basketball team. And, Coach, welcome to the broadcast. Welcome to Hinds. And it's good to have you. You got to be excited about getting this team.
Yes, indeed, man. I thank you for welcoming me, and I appreciate everybody in Hinds that has been supportive for everything we've been trying to do, and just bringing some new blood to the town and some excitement to the Bulldog program, because for some years now it's been a little stagnant, and we want to get that excitement back.
And one of the ways to get excitement back is that the excitement brings the fans back, and one of the ways to get that excitement back is to get players that generate excitement, which I'm sure was one of the things that was on your mind.
That was the first thing I had to do. We had 5 players signed when I got here, so I had to go find 10. So what I did was I got a lot of transfers from a lot of other JUCOs, brought a foreign kid in from Spain. So we're looking to try to, infuse some of that excitement through these guys that are coming in as transferring sophomore older guys.
Well, I'd love to see the expense report on that recruiting trip to Spain. How'd you run across him?
Well, just from the connections from before, from being at the Division I level and just talking to guys throughout. At IMG and other places, I've been able to go across waters for some years now and bring some guys back. So still those same connections coming to Hinds.
That's a good thing. All right, so you take on a Hinds program. What are your goals? Did you sit down with the guys and say, this is what we want to accomplish?
I want to win championships. Honestly, throughout my whole tenure of coaching and everywhere I've been winning. And I want to bring the same energy and passion and that expertise here. It's going to take some time because we're starting from scratch, but if we get the right recruits in this year, it can be a quick turnaround. Like I was reading this morning, Lanier High School's football team went 0-12 last year, and they actually qualified for the playoffs this year. That's the goals that we're trying to set, where it doesn't take a long time to build. If you put a great foundation in place and then you get the right guys in here, we can turn this thing around pretty quick.
Wouldn't you say that the biggest challenge as a JUCO basketball coach would be you only have these guys for 2 years? They've got to come here ready to play.
That's the thing that people don't understand when we're recruiting. It's always, hey, take my guy or take my son or take my nephew. It sounds wonderful, but can your nephew play? Because at the end of the day, we're trying to win games. We are all in the process of trying to get kids education and get them to the next level, but at the same time, we have to win games. And in order to win games, you got to have some talent. So I think the biggest thing is the misconception of JUCO basketball. It's really tough, and guys don't understand you have to have, I like to call it Division I ready players, and you have to develop those guys from getting them from there to get them prepared to play at the Division I level. If you can do that, you should be able to win some games.
Yeah, you talk to, a lot of fans, but coaches will feel this way too, and that is some would say you got to have height, got to be tall, got to be thick, and then you got some coaches that say, I want to running like gazelles. I want them up and down the floor. What's your theory about this?
Well, I don't care if you're big, tall, fat, skinny. If you can get up and down the floor and you can play in a disciplined offense and then be able to play basketball one-on-one and when it's your opportunities, you can play for me. I love to play fast. I do want to run. But I think people get caught up in, he's not a running kid. Well, when he's not a running kid, we will slow it down and play at his pace, because we have to be able to play at both speeds, because when they leave me, you don't know what program they're going to. Right. They have to be used to doing both.
Zone or man-to-man?
Man-to-man. Man-to-man.
Up in their face.
In their grill. We don't – zone is okay, but the zone a lot of times lets kids be lazy. And I don't like laziness around me whatsoever. So for me, it's we want to get up in you. We want to pressure the basketball, because when you stand out and let guys, pass it around, move the ball as they want, they pick you apart if they're good basketball players.
Right, you can shoot over a zone.
Exactly. And that's my thing. And then rebounding is horrible out of a zone. I don't care what anybody tells you. Out of a zone, you only have specific areas, so you don't have a specific person. So you get lost, and then that laziness kicks in sometimes.
How difficult is it when you come in and you've not been a part of the tradition, if there is tradition? I'm not talking about Hinds necessarily. I'm talking about as a coach, to take on a program that you don't know much about, and all of a sudden you're thrust out there in the seasons here. You've got to establish tradition.
Right. Well, the thing that I do appreciate is the JUCO system here in the state has been pretty good, and I've been involved in it for 2 years now. This will be my 3rd year. I was at Jones for 2, And then just knowing the history of playing at Tougaloo, and we played against Hinds, and knowing how far it goes back, I think with the success they had back in the 60s and 70s, I think we can mirror that stuff now if we just get the right guys in, and then we can build that tradition and just kind of fuse it back together from where it was early on in the years to now in the future.
If we just get the right guys in, easier said than done.
That's the hardest thing to do, because the thing about tradition is guys go with what they know. So when we were at Jones and we built that program, it was already established that it won a national championship, so guys were coming off of that. Now it's trying to get people to understand, hey, we were the formula down there. We want you to come to Hinds now so you can continue this tradition over here. And it's kind of, for me, I always put tradition as where I've been. So for me, I go with my track record at IMG, at Iona, at Jones, in Chicago at Julian High School. The places I've been that we've developed that tradition, it's follow me everywhere.
Well, this is a Hinds program that plays in Utica, and it's 22, the way Chris drives, 18 minutes from here. It's a little trip down the road. Is that a plus or is it a minus?
I think it's a plus if you have basketball wanting life guys. If those guys want basketball for their lives, that's what we're doing. You got the classroom, you have the gym time, you have nothing else to distract you because you're down there on that campus, and you can get back and forth to the city and back up to this campus, but at the same time, the way our day is structured, we're in the gym. So it's perfect for guys that are gym rats, and that's the guys that I want to recruit anyway.
You talk to some coaches, Yusef, and they'll say, well, we're a family in football and we're a family in baseball, but basketball, they're kind of individualists. How do you feel about that?
No, it's a family, because you're going to battle still with those same guys that you're in that locker room. It's a brotherhood, and it's a fraternity that goes on the rest of your life. If guys pay attention, a lot of my friends are basketball guys, and the circle's not that big. I go across the country, I go across the world, and I meet guys for the first time. They're like, well, I know this guy and I know that guy. Well, that's my friend. That's my guy. Well, we're guys. And it becomes that camaraderie overall, and that's what you got to have to win. And guys will never forget. There's one thing about it. You'll forget if you lost, and you'll forget if you won. You won't forget if you win. You'll forget it if you lost. You won't want to talk to anybody else. Right. But if you win, you'll remember that for the rest of your life.
How difficult is it as a coach? You've got this group of guys that are trying out for basketball, and he's a good kid, he's a great kid, he's got a good attitude, but he just can't play the style of basketball that you want to play. You've been in a lot of places, and you've won where you've been. I know you've had to deal with that problem. How do you deal with that?
Well, what you do is you try to put them in a frame of training to be used to what you're doing on the floor. See, a lot of guys will jump out here and they just say, oh, he can't play in my system. Well, that's your fault as a coach. You have to get him the best out of that kid in your situation. You can't put him in positions to fail. If you put these kids in positions to fail, they're going to fail because they don't know. If you put them in positions to succeed, they'll be fine. And you got to train them to that. You can't just say, oh, roll the ball out and let them go ahead. They don't know enough basketball yet. That's just like throwing a kid out there for life at 18 years old. They don't know enough. They're going to fail. They're going to fail somewhere. Might not fail overall, but there's going to be a struggle. So for us, it's just trying to teach them the right way to play in our system.
Probably a little bit early to pull out the movie Hoosiers. We usually kind of hang around and wait for it during the playoffs. But if we were, everyone knows Gene Hackman said, okay, you're going to have to pass the ball 5 times before you take the shot. And he really emphasized defense, going in and around the chairs and running drills, because he said offense would come. Is that kind of your theory?
No.
That's good. That's what I want to get at. You're going to shoot the eyes out of it, aren't you?
We're going to shoot it. We're going to shoot it, and we're going to shoot it some more. Because my thing is this. We can't turn down open shots. You got a 30-second shot clock. At the end of the day, you're going to only get about 2 or 3 open shots out of that 30 seconds if you make it down to the 30 seconds without turning it over. So my thing is, instead of turning it over, giving it to him, instead of letting that shot clock go off at 0, chunk it. Chunk it at the rim.
I like his attitude.
I'd rather you chunk it at the rim when they turn it over and they go down and get a layup, and we're down in a deficit situation. My thing is always, you got to encourage these young men to take open shots, because at the end of the day, we shoot enough of them in practice. The only way that you're going to succeed is to try. The only way you're going to fail is to not try. So my thing is, I get on my guys about not taking open shots, about not taking the right shot. And I also get on them about not passing the ball as well, because you can't be selfish in this game. If you play the game the right way, and I learned this from Larry Brown some years ago, just watching how he handled Allen Iverson and things of that nature. When Allen Iverson bought into the team concept, they made it to the finals. Even though that team was terrible. Aaron McKee and those guys, they were not basketball guys as far as being great, as you would say. They were basketball players and they were pros, but at the same time, they wasn't a typical championship caliber team. When I saw that, that made me say, okay, if you play the game the right way, you'll have a whole lot of success. So that's what we're preaching down there. We do a lot of drills with 4-on-3s and 5-on-4s and having an advantage to just try to get them to move the ball and share it to the open guy, and then that open guy has to take that shot.
Well, do you have any pure shooters on this team?
Andre, too. Andre, too, is a kid that's about 6'2", 6'3", from Provine High School in Jackson. He really shoots the snot out of it. He's been impressive over the preseason, even with he's had a wrist injury so far, and he's shot it well through that. So my thing is, once that thing tinkers on up some more, if I can get Brooks, if I get my trainer good, we'll be okay.
Well, it sounds like it should be a really fun season for the Hinds Bulldogs. And Yusef, we're glad that you're here. We welcome you with open arms to the Hinds program, to the Hinds family. And we look forward to following you guys as you try to get that Region 23 championship. And somehow, if you don't get it this year, I get the feeling it's not too far behind you.
I'm hoping so.
All right.